In this video, we're going to have a look at the instrument panel. But before we do so, I just wanted to kind of reiterate something about the way this plugin works. So I'm going to choose a chord progression here. So let's just take these 4 chords and bring them down into our main track down here. And let's come to the arrange track. And as you'd expect, these have now been ported across. Okay, so if we're to add a new track in here, so let's add in a passage. Okay, let's try that. Let's have a listen. Okay, sounding nice. So let's come across to here and let's take this F chord here, the second chord, and let's just come across to here. And if we select it, let's change it to a minor alteration. So we make sure we drop it on so the whole square is selected or the whole rectangle is selected. That means it will replace it. And then let's come back to here and we should hear this F minor now be played in the passages track that we have. What I'm trying to get at is that all these melodies and expressions and articulations are going to be changing according to the chord progression. So by changing the F major to an F minor, this is now going to change accordingly. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I showed you that. So let's have a look at the instrument panel. So the instrument panel is going to provide an interactive way to visualize and play the sounds using either a keyboard that we can see here or a guitar fretboard. So basically it's aimed at people that come from a guitar background can still use Scalar 3 without being limited to having to use a keyboard. So this is going to aid you in working out whether you're playing in the right scale. It's going to show the key binding, so what you're controlling with the MIDI keyboard and key switching, and also allow for chord editing as well. And we can choose to collapse or open these up like so. So we can have nothing visible. We can have the fretboard or the keyboard. Okay, let's start off with the keyboard. So what does the keyboard show us? Well, first of all, it shows us all of the scale notes. Now we're working at the moment in C major. Okay, let's choose to transpose this up. So what we'll do is let's delete what we've got here. And let's copy down this chord progression here, which has been transposed. And now you'll see, whereas before it was showing us all the white notes, had these little blue coloration to them. Now it's showing us the scale of D major, which is our current scale. Now, in addition, if we were to bind here, you can see that this is now showing us the keys that are going to correspond to the bind. So the bind is when the MIDI keyboard is going to control the chords. So if we change it to this section here, current scale. This is where we can access those keys. Now, if we wanted to be able to make sure we're always playing in the key, we could key lock here. We could do this in different ways. So we could have the scale notes mapped. For example, we could just do the chord notes like so. Let's do scale notes maps. And you'll see that these notes that are outside of the key are now locked, so we can't play them. So if I play D and I play D sharp, it's still going to play D, because D sharp is not in the scale of D major. Now there's some other displays that come up as well. So let's say we had scale notes only. You see now we have a cross on here visible. So we're not going to be able to play those keys that are outside of the scale. So these are now disabled keys. So that gives you an idea of some of the kind of visual feedback you get from the keyboard. Let's have a look at the guitar fretboard. So this is showing us the same kind of layout, but with a guitar fretboard. So if you're used to using the guitar, playing the guitar, that might be more useful for you. So we can see here the notes that are in the scale and the notes grayed out that are outside the scale. Now we have a few different kind of tuning standards here. So we've got standard, custom, regular, bass, baritone, other. And we can also access guitar chord charts here as well. So it's going to show us how to play the chords on the guitar, which is pretty useful. Can be really handy if you're learning the guitar. If you find a chord progression you like, it's automatically going to tab that out on the guitar for you. Okay, so that's the keyboard and the guitar fretboard visualization. Let's have a look at the global controls. So the global controls are located across from here, and these are tools that allow you to enhance the progression on the main track. It has controls for things like humanization, note mapping, voice grouping, and kind of playback as well. So it's to help you kind of increase the expressiveness of the performance of the main track chords. So we can transpose these up and down. You can see that from here. And then we also have these performance controls here. Now these are the same controls that we had for the motion section within the arrange page. So we added a new track here. Remember this menu here? Well, this is the same from here. So if we wanted this to be applied to our main track, we can do so. So let's try one out here. Let's try rhythms. Let's try this one here. Let's just actually separate these sounds out so we can really hear the difference here. So let's go synth. Let's go housey. Let's loop this. Let's try moods. You can hear all that kind of extras being added into the performance there. Let's try Jazz Soft. So as I said, if you're looking to get that main chord track a little bit more interesting, you can do that using the performance controls here. Now we can also adjust the resolution of this as well. We can kind of halve the speed, double the speed. Or add in kind of triplets. Pretty powerful stuff. And then we have a humanize option. Now this is going to add a kind of human aspect, swing, etc. to the performance controls here. Okay, let's change this to an 8th note resolution. So we're going to have 8th note swing added. Take it down. That's straight. Let's try doubling the speed. And let's make this 16th note resolution. So you can hear that swing being added. Now swing isn't the only option here. We can also work on the velocity. So slightly humanizing that, the timing. You see these two parameters here are grayed out now, so we can't change those. Or we can quantize as well and choose how much we're going to quantize. Now we have our keys lock option here, which we've kind of looked at slightly, but we have a few different options for this. So this is going to allow us to obviously change the keyboard or the fretboard. So it's only going to control notes determined by this list. So we have scale notes mapped. That's going to transpose out of scale notes to notes of the selected scale. Scale notes only is going to lock all notes to the selected scale. So out of scale notes are going to be redirected to the nearest note within the scale. And then the next option we have is scale white keys. This is going to map any scale to the white keys, deactivating the black keys. So if you find it easier just to play with the white keys, then you can have any scale just basically kind of mapped onto the white keys. So you don't have to worry about playing the black keys. Chord notes means you're only going to be able to play the chord notes. We also have chord extensions. So it's going to allow you to play the chord notes and the extensions. And then we also have another option which is called scales, which is going to work like the scale white keys, except a new scale is going to be selected automatically based on the last triggered chord. Okay, so then we have an option of voice grouping. So this is going to group notes in a specific way, allowing chord changes to be nice and smooth. So we can switch on and off using this button. That's the same for any of these. And then we have various different options here. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but it's worth experimenting with. But dynamic allows smooth changes by automatically grouping notes around the tonal center of the currently selected scale. It's basically going to prevent big jumps in the chords. So it's going to choose the best inversion to have a nice smooth movement. And then we have the same, but it can basically work within certain octaves. So we want to have dynamic grouped around the first octave, second octave, around notes as well. So if you definitely want the part to fit in a certain range, you can specify that. Open voicing is going to spread the chords out so they're nice and open. Again, we have a variation on that. Guitar voicings. Then we have drop 2 voicings. Drop 3, drop 4 voicings. These refer to voicings that are typically played on the piano. Now there's also a way of extracting voicing from a chord. So let's say we extract the voicing for this one. And then we go extracted. Now all the voices are going to be matched against that voice that we selected from that chord. So if you want it to be very repetitive and kind of follow the same voicing structure of one certain chord, then you can apply that to all of them. So that was just right click on any chord, extract voicing, and then play back the chord progression using the extracted voicing. And that concludes our look at the keyboard, the guitar, instrument panels, and also the global controls down across the top here. So remember, we can visualize things as a keyboard or as a guitar fretboard. And from here, the keyboard is going to show us what notes that we're working with. They're going to be in blue here, and they're going to either be locked or they're going to be deactivated here, so we can play back in the key. Also, if we bind any section, it's going to show us those chords and where we can play them on the MIDI keyboard. Guitar fretboard is going to show us the same information on the guitar fretboard. And we have settings for different tunings and also chord tabs here, which is super useful. And what's more, we have those global controls, so we can play back our main chord track using certain performances. We can humanize and quantize here. We've got keys lock, which allows us to choose basically to stay in key or just play the chord notes. And then we had the voicings section as well, so we can choose how the voicings are going to play back, and we can transpose our main chord track as well. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this video series on Scalar 3, but in the last video, we're going to have a look at our export options. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.